What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a very, very exciting episode here of the Sports Outlet Show. I'm your host, Joe Wagner. Alongside me, they don't even need an introduction, but it's Braden Wilkins and Brent Allegra, who apparently does not know a good phrase for the AAC. Brent, what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, what's up, everybody? If you've been tuning into these sports outlet shows here recently, you would have seen that in the Sun Belt, my name was the Fun Belt, and in the MAC, it was Maction. But I don't really know a good nickname for the AAC. So if you guys want to help me out in the comments, go ahead and list some for me. I think it's going to be kind of tough, though.
Braden, we need some blurbs underneath you next time. That's your first homework assignment. It's looking a little bare under there.
Okay. Can do.
Can do. Anyways, we got our other co-host Chris here in the comments section. Everybody clap him for a almost done first week with the Denver Broncos over in Colorado. Big shout out there. We got a good one here for you guys. We know why you're all here. All right. We're talking about the AAC today. We're going to go through all 14 teams. But we know why you're here. If you tuned into our last podcast when we talked about MAC action, we have some mascot action here for you today. Starting off, kicking us off here today, actually, we had a homework assignment. Brent, give me a little rundown on what that was.
Yeah, so for you all today, it was promised last podcast, but we went through some of the team names in college sports, and we made a list of our top 15 each. And we're going to be giving that to you.
All I'm saying is reading through these options today, guys, didn't know a couple of these teams existed, excuse me. It's going to be – I'm honestly pretty excited about it. So little rundown here for you guys. What we did is we went 1 through 15 here. We each put in 15, and I have the whole spreadsheet. We'll show you guys here once we're through. Each mascot name, and we're talking D1, we're talking D2, we're talking D3, we're talking JUCO, we're talking everything. Everything's on the table here, guys. There's nothing we left out. We had to narrow it down to 15. 15 teams. That was difficult. After that, each was ranked from 1 to 15, and they were given points in inverse order. So if you're number 1, you got 15 points and vice versa. Most a team can get is 45 points. Guys, I don't see why we don't just start. I don't see why we keep the people waiting. First off here, we're doing top 10 for the points. We had 15, and you'll see all 15. We'll go through the honorable mentions here later as well. We had a 4-way tie for 9th. So we had 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now you're wondering, why'd we skip over 10? Why'd we skip over 10? And you'll figure that out here in just a second. But at 9, for 4 people with 14 points, we had the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, the Campbell Fighting Camels, the TCU Horned Frogs, and the Colorado State Pueblo Thunder Wolves. The Thunder Wolves is a pretty dope name. So if I had to choose between these 4, they would take the number 9 spot for me.
Very nice.
Yeah, personally, I put the Horned Frogs and Fighting Camels on the list there. The Campbell Fighting Camels, for me, it hits home. I used to play with them in NCAA basketball on Xbox back in 2012, and it just rolls off the tongue. I love the Fighting Camels.
I can't. That's such a good name. I mean, like, where does it come from? Like, I'm just so confused. I'm not even.
I don't know. And
anyways,
I think they're in like Ohio, so it doesn't really make sense for the Camels. But I don't know.
But anyways, why you didn't see a 10 is because you know how when you have a tie for 7th place, they take spots 7 and 8. And guys, we have a tie for 7th place as well at 15 points, both of which were actually surprising, not being up a little higher. Here, tied for 7th, was the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers and the Arizona Christian Firestorm. Again, 2 great names. I'm hurt that the Hilltoppers were not higher on this list. We'll go through why they were not here in just a few minutes. Braden, Brent, who are you? Well, Braden, I know who you're taking out of these 2, but Brent, I need you to break the tie here.
I don't know. Hilltoppers is a great name, but Firestorm. I mean, that's pretty badass. I think I'm gonna go with the Firestorm. Firestorm.
The reason the Firestorm are up here, I actually put them at my number one. I don't know if they're my top mascot ever, but I wanted them to get some recognition, give them the most points because they're a team that not a lot of people know. So I figured it'd be cool to get them on there.
Well, Braden, if we're sitting here and we're talking about our lives and the 15 points, the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers were my number one seed.
Nice.
So 2 number ones getting knocked out before the top 5. That's an ouch for Braden and I. Looks like Brent's might still be standing. Who knows when we'll see it. All right, guys, we're going into number 6. At number 6, we actually have it by itself. And we have the rest of these teams by themselves as well. At number 6, guys, I think this is a classic. The Louisiana Raging Cajuns. I mean, it's a home run slam dunk team name. I mean, it's got a little spiciness in it. I don't know how this isn't anywhere in anybody's top 10. Great name. Great name.
Yeah, I didn't include it in mine, but I figured you guys would include it in yours. It is a classic name for sure.
It's one of my favorites. I absolutely love it. I guess we're going into the top 5. Now, again, out of 45 points is the maximum a team can get. Going into number 5, again, we've already talked about this team. Actually, we've talked about in the top 5, we have talked about 2 of the teams so far, with the other 3, actually the top 3 we haven't discussed so far. Number 5, I think we all know what's coming. It's the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. Again, instant classic name there for Hawaii. That might not be great on the field, might not be a well-known state of population, but they're up here in the populating points here in the top 5, guys. What do we think about Hawaii?
Yeah, so I would have put them in my top 5, but you see, the thing is, it's not Pride Month anymore. If it was Pride Month, they automatically get knocked up to number 1. It's the Rainbow. It's the Rainbow Warriors.
It's a really great name. It's so creative.
Such a classic.
It really
we talk
is.
about it every year. It's such a classic.
Every year. Well, another team we talk about every year, guys, at number 4 here with 20 points. And don't let this one flash you by a little bit. It's the Kent State Golden Flashes here at number 4 with 20 points. Kent State, again, another team we've talked about. Again, not great on the field. Not great on the field. But that's not why we're here. We're talking about team names today. We're talking about team names. Phenomenal start here, guys. And we're about to hit number 3. We're talking about bronze medal. We're talking about a team here that Braden left off his list, but Brent and I actually had. There really isn't any bias here based off of ranking systems and tournaments that have happened in the past. It's the Virginia Tech Hokies taking number 3 with 20. I mean, guys, it's a castrated turkey. Like, come on. Come on.
I didn't want to show any bias, but gotta love the Hokie bird. They're both great. Great name.
The Hokie bird might be one of the top mascots ever. So Virginia Tech Hokies had to be in my top 10. Mm-hmm. Brent, you also had them in your top 10 as well. Care to comment?
It was in my top 5. It was number 5 on the list, second in FBS. So I really like the Hokies, obviously. I think it's just a fun name. And what's a Hokie? I am a Hokie.
Very well said. Very well said. Coming in at number 2, I am the culprit of leaving this one off my list. Braden and Brent hit home on this one. If you haven't heard of them yet, you're sure as heck going to learn their name. The UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs.
Love it.
Sitting there at 24 points. If somebody asks what is a banana slug, I wonder what they say over there.
I don't know. But I do have a little story on the banana slugs.
Let's do it. Oh, absolutely.
So the students at UC Santa Cruz had always called themselves the banana slugs. It's a bright yellow, shiny slug who signified that anybody can play sports no matter how athletic you are. You have to keep in mind this is a D3 school, so athleticism, it's not the cream of the crop. Let's put it that way. In 1980, though, when UC Santa Cruz officially joined the NCAA, their president didn't think the Banana Slugs was good enough of a name. So he officially named the team the Sea Lions. And the students had a complete uproar. And 5 years later, they officially changed it back to the Banana Slugs. So the Banana Slugs, it's here to stay. It's here to
It's a
stay.
great story.
Wow.
It's a great story.
That's
It's heartwarming.
It makes me feel good. Now, there was only one team, and it is at number 1, that was in every single one of ours brackets for top 15. It was the only one on the list. To keep you guys from knowing, I had them at number 8. And then it looks like for you guys, they were both also in here, but I'm not going to tell you because one of you ranked it pretty higher than the other by about 7 places. At number 1. And guys, we're going to talk about them today in the AAC. It's the Tulane Green Wave at number 1. I mean, I have no further words. I mean, their mascot is a green wave. Like,
it's crazy. It's so good.
I love it. I absolutely love it. The Banana Slugs might be a better name, but the green wave is just more prevalent to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I look it up, I know what it is. Tulane made a big splash this season. I don't see a better team that deserves number 1.
I agree. I mean, if it's on all of our lists, it's only fitting. We're talking about them today. They're a great team. I think it deserves the 1 seed.
Now listen, we have so many honorable mentions. A couple of those I'll read off real quick. I believe they were shown multiple times here, but did not crack the top 10. One of them was the Minnesota Golden Gophers that showed up on Brent and I's, as well that showed up on Brent and I's. I hope Brett is listening. Was the Wichita State Shockers. Shocker that made the top 15 there on those lists. Again, TCU made it up there, but they actually made it on the list. I'll show every single one right here, but I have 3 honorable mentions from each of our lists here that are some of my favorites. At Joe's number 3, bringing in 13 points, which I just thought was funny for football, is the Youngstown State Penguins. Penguins, my favorite animal. Had to throw them up there. It has nothing to do with the hockey team, Brent, I promise. I just absolutely love that name. Then I go over – actually, I'll skip over to Braden real quick. This one was just weird to me. The Atlantis Atlanteans.
Yeah.
Please describe.
Shoot, I had a lot of information on them earlier, but I'm missing it. I got to find out where Atlantis is. That's been a problem for a while now. People can't seem to find it.
It's under the ocean.
Atlantic College is in Miami. Yeah, I just think that's so cool. The Atlanteans, it's great, perfect for their university, and it's just there's got some mystical aspect to it, and it fits right in Miami. So I think it's great.
And then I got 2 for Brent. Brent, do you have your list up?
Yeah.
Would you mind reading off 13 and 15 for me?
Yeah, 13, I had the Fighting Okra, which is Delta State. Don't ask me where that's at because I'm not entirely sure, but it's a D2. It's a D2 team. And yes, you heard that right. Fighting Okra, like the food okra. It's very, very strange.
Maybe we'll see him in the mascot fight. Who knows?
And then you said 12, right?
15. You can say 12 too. That one's
Well, 15 is the Wonder Boys. I'm not really sure what that means. I didn't look too much into it because I did have them as last on my list. But when I think about it, I think of maybe like superheroes, maybe Wonder Boys. It's Arkansas Tech. It's a D2 school as well.
nice. All right. Anyways, as promised, we're gonna throw them up on the board. All 45 teams that were on here. And geez, was it a list? Whoop, that's too much. All right. We can probably go team by team, on person by person, honestly. So we had the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, the Youngstown State Penguins. I don't know if you guys crossed by this one, but the Presbyterian Blue Hose. That one was cool for me. I liked that one. Had the Hokies, the Rainbow Warriors, Indiana State Sycamores, who actually made a name for themselves in baseball this season, the Tulane Green Wave, the Gardner-Webb Running Bulldogs, Minnesota, we talked about Louisiana, we talked about Holy Cross Crusaders. That I just thought was a really cool name. The Wichita State Shockers we mentioned. St. Francis Red Flash. Had to throw the Red Flash in there. Didn't put the Golden Flash. And Syracuse Orange just because I love it.
Go Cuse.
Brent, you're here in the middle.
You want me to read mine?
Yeah, baby.
All right. At number 1, we got the UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs. Again, I don't know how you beat the Banana Slug. It's a great name. Great story. Second, we got the Campbell Fighting Camels. Third, Nebraska Cornhuskers. When I think of a team that really idolizes what they stand for, Nebraska might be at the top. They love their corn. That's all I think about when I think of Nebraska.
It's corn.
SF Austin, we got the Lumberjacks. I thought that was a badass name. Virginia Tech Hokies, Kent State Golden Flashes, TCU Horned Frogs, Shockers, Golden Gophers, Green Wave, Utsa Roadrunners. That's a great name. We'll get into them today. They're going to be last on the podcast today. We got the Tufts Jumbos, which I thought was a weird kind of funny name. Delta State Fighting Okra, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas. I thought that was a cool name. I haven't seen gorillas as a mascot besides Pittsburgh State, so I liked that. And then the Arkansas Tech Wonder Boys.
Let me jump in there at 14. You might notice that Pittsburgh is misspelled. That is the name of their college. It is not. There is not an H. Trust me, I checked it four times.
Perfect.
That was that. Braden, send me over and take us home here with the mascots.
Yeah, we got the Arizona Christian Firestorm. Like I said earlier, great name. The Colorado State Pueblo Thunderwolves, Tulane Green Wave, we're going to talk about them today. Tulsa Golden Hurricane, Louisiana Raging Cajuns, the Golden Flashes, UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs, we love them. Marshall Thundering Herd, I like a lot. The Rainbow Warriors,
pick.
Alabama Crimson Tide. I just think there isn't a more iconic mascot or team name. You hear the Roll Tide, you hear the Crimson Tide all the time. Maybe just because they're so good, but it's also a great name. TCU Horned Frogs, Arizona State Sun Devils, North Texas Mean Green, couple green in there, a little bit of green. Atlantis Atlanteans, and they didn't crack my top 10, but 15, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights.
It's also a good pick. Anyways, that's what we had over here. But listen, it's like that. It's like one of those infomercials. Wait, there's more. All right. We will be doing mascot fights after we go through our first 6 teams here for the AAC. Stick around. Joe made a slideshow presentation, so please stick around. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be really funny. Super excited. If you're wondering which team that is, if you don't really care too much about the AAC coming up, feel free to grab a snack. Maybe go freshen up, get ready for the big show. But we're gonna roll here with Charlotte, ECU, FAU, Memphis, Navy, and North Texas. We'll be back with you with mascots here in just a second, but not as exciting. We're gonna start with the 2022 Charlotte 49ers, and I'll be kicking us off here, guys. But before we even get into the Charlotte 49ers, guys, in the actual description of the YouTube podcast, it says the AAC is absolutely crazy, because it is. This might be the single most changing conference in college football history. The AAC has shifted out 3 teams, shifted in 5 teams. And here's who they are. We're talking about Charlotte, FAU, North Texas, Rice, UAB, and UTSA. They shifted in 6 teams and kicked out 3. Kicked out 3 to the Big 12, which we'll talk about here in a few weeks. Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. Basically, the 3 powerhouses of the AAC just left. So this division, this conference is up for grabs, besides the teams we'll talk about here, and we'll let you know why. But that is what happened to the AAC. It's been a ridiculous couple of months, guys. I'm excited to get into it. Let's get going here. Here with the Charlotte 49ers, 3-9, 2-6 in the CUSA last season. They transferred over here to the AAC for their first season. They did fire their head coach, Will Healy, after a 1-7 start to the season. He had been on his way out for a while as Charlotte has had a terrible last couple of years. They didn't make a bowl game. Again, first year in the AAC. They're bringing in first-year head coach Biff Poggi. I thought that was a pretty cool name, who was a associate head coach under Jim Harbaugh for 21 and 22 under at the University of Michigan. Charlotte has had one winning season and one bowl appearance since they were created into the conference. That was in 2019. The last few years have been absolutely ones to forget. I love picking this team every single year because I always believe in them and believe they have hope. This year, I don't agree. Starting quarterback Jalen Hones is a senior transfer from Bethune-Cookman. He had 2,231 yards on 7 picks, as well as he can run the ball at least with 560 yards on the ground with 5 in the back of the end zone. Their 2023 recruits, guys, this team got absolutely obliterated by the transfer portal. Their 2023 recruits are 103rd rated in the nation. That is terrible. That is behind a ton of group of 5 schools not heading in the right direction. They got crushed by the transfer portal, losing almost all of their star talent, their offensive line, their defense, their star corner. It's rough. Their defense last year finished 127th in the nation. They need to and total defense was that statistic. Their player to watch on offense is going to be Shredrick Bird. He is a redshirt senior running back who actually is an original Iowa commit. He transferred in last season here. He had 149 carries, 620 yards, and 4 touchdowns last season. My highlight player to watch, guys, and this is actually a really big and long story, but I'll make it short, is graduate transfer Ayabi Oki, who had 18 tackles, 4 sacks in 2022 here. He is a transfer from Michigan. Those were his stats in Michigan last season. But, guys, he was a former 5-star recruit commit to Alabama. So he transferred from Alabama. I think he had a stint in Houston, transferred to Michigan, and is now playing for the Charlotte 49ers, expected to be a big playmaker. Now, you're wondering, how does a player like this go from the Alabama Crimson Tide, 5-star recruit? By the way, he was number 3 in the nation. Not at position, number 3 in the nation as a defensive end coming in 2018 to Alabama. In 2018, Saban dismissed him from the team without any reasons. Obviously, there was reasons behind it. He just chose to not show that out to the national press, which is a very Nick Saban thing to do, to respectfully not crush a player's career. Also, he was dismissed from Alabama, and I think it was either a problem at Houston or Michigan where he had off-field issues where he decided to transfer out. But the highlight of this, guys, is I'm a firm believer in second chances no matter what those were. And for Ayabi Oki, having experience in the SEC and the Big Ten, coming in for the Charlotte 49ers, that is the exact piece you need. And that is the exact person with some absolute everything to prove in their final season. I'm scared to play against this guy this season. He's my player to watch for them. My most important game for them is going to be Week 9 at Tulsa. It's a former 5-7 AAC team. Let's see how much Charlotte can actually come into this conference and make a difference in their first year in the CUSA. I think it's going to be a rough season for them. I have them going 2-10. But again, it's that first year. The transfer portal sucked, and it's time to get back on your feet.
They did get 1 star, though, it sounds like.
They have a very unproven grad student that is a 5-star recruit, and you don't lose that talent. I'm very hopeful for him, and he'll definitely be someone I'm watching and rooting for as well. Let's shift over here, Braden, to the FAU Owls, and tell me about Owls real quick.
Yes, my first Owls of the day. It's one of two. Like me some Owls, I guess. Last year they went 5-7, 4-4 in the conference. In the CUSA, they went 3-1 against former CUSA opponents turned AAC. So they're 3-1 in guys that they would have played in this conference last year. They weren't good enough to make a bowl game. They won the CUSA East back in 2019, in which they were conference champs. Their head coach is Tom Herman. It's his first season, his 7th year overall as a head coach, with a record of 54-22. He saw a lot of success as the head coach at Houston and Texas before taking a chance as an offensive analyst for the Chicago Bears last year. After 1 year trying out the NFL, he returns to lead the Owls. The quarterback, they got two to look after. They got Casey Thompson as a redshirt senior. He transferred from Nebraska. Last year, he threw for 2,407 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 10 picks with 5 rushing touchdowns.
Was it Brent or Braden that was on the hype train of Casey Thompson last year?
It might have been me. I remember his name.
Because I remember you and I sitting together watching their game in Ireland against Northwestern, and you were just like, Joe, I told you about this guy. Carry on.
Yeah, and then the other guy is Daniel Richardson, also a transfer. He's a redshirt junior from Central Michigan. Last year, he had 1,988 yards, 15 touchdowns to only 5 picks. There's a little bit of a battle going on there. Daniel Richardson, I believe, is first on the depth chart right now, but Casey Thompson coming from Nebraska, Richardson coming from Central Michigan. Differences in competition. It'll be fun to see who wins the job there. My player to watch on offense is Larry McCammon III, redshirt senior running back. Last year, he just broke 1,000 yards with 1,001, 7 touchdowns. He also had 166 receiving yards and 1 touchdown. This offense is supposed to be loaded with firepower. They got a 3-headed monster at running back, and they got a couple good receivers as well. So this offense should be a lot of fun to watch. My player to watch on defense is Roman Smoke Mungan. He's a senior quarterback. Yeah, he's got a tough nickname. Last year, he had 34 tackles, 26 of which were solo. He doesn't get targeted too much, and when he does, he either bats it down for 8 pass deflections or tackles the guy by himself. He also had 2 picks and 1 forced fumble. I said the offense has a lot of firepower. The defense has a lot of improvement to do. Last year, they allowed almost 40 points per game. Obviously, you're not going to win a lot of games giving up 40 points. My most important game to watch for them is Week 8 versus UTSA UTSA. FAU is a team that in basketball I did not believe in. They proved me wrong. I do believe in this team for football. This game against UTSA is a great chance to show that you mean business, taking on their former CSA buddies who just happened to win the conference. It's their first real challenge in conference after getting beat by Clemson and Illinois in Week 3 and 4. I think this team's going to take a huge step up and go 8-4 this year.
First of all, I love the enthusiasm, especially with that 3-headed rushing attack you mentioned. Also, I looked up Romaine Smoke Mungan. His 40 time in high school was a 4.36.
He's called Smoke for a reason, baby.
I can see why that was his name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brent, do you have a similar something to talk about here?
Yeah, similar team name to the old Braden. The Rice Owls. They're getting their first shot at the AAC after going 5-8 and 3-5 within the Conference USA last year. A lot of these transfers are from the CUSA, as you'll find out throughout the podcast. Surprisingly, with only 5 wins, they were still able to make a bowl game where they lost 38-24 against Southern Miss and Frank Gore Jr. in the Lending Tree Bowl. I wanted to emphasize.
Are you sure it wasn't Frank Gore Jr. and Southern Miss?
Yeah,
you sure it wasn't flipped? Okay,
he carried that game. But you have to go back 10 years ago to the last time Rice won their conference. They beat Marshall 38-24 in the Conference USA Championship. The head coach, surprisingly enough, is still Mike Bloomgren, who is entering his 6th season with the team and has an overall record of 16-39. He needs to put up a winning season this year, or it's likely donezo for him. I don't know how he's made it this long. At quarterback, the Owls landed former USC, Georgia, and West Virginia quarterback JT Daniels. Last year for West Virginia, JT Daniels had 2,107 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 9 picks. This is a guy that's had a lot of flair to his name. And we'll see if JT can give Bloomgren one last fighting chance at remaining the head coach. Luckily for the Owls, they also have one of the better receiving cores in the conference, and that starts with Bradley Rosner, who is a senior wide receiver entering his 4th year with the team. Last season, Rosner averaged almost 20 yards per catch and found the end zone 10 different times. So it's a great weapon for JT Daniels. And moving on, we have the defense. The defense also wasn't too bad. The linebacking unit is projected to be extremely good. They're headlined by Josh Piercy, a junior edge who had 50 tackles, 6.5 sacks, and a forced fumble last year. I believe the most important game of the season will come as Rice's last. I project them as having a record of 5-6 going into Week 12 against FAU, and I believe if they win this game, they will go bowling. I project an overall record of 6-6 for the Owls. And then a little fun fact for you guys. Rice has a tradition known as the Baker 13, in which students run around wearing nothing but shoes and shaving cream at 10 p.m. on the 13th and 31st of every month, or on the 26th on months with fewer than 31 days.
That sounds like straight out of Blue Mountain State.
It very much does. Shaving cream and shoes, and that's it.
Dude, okay.
Sounds like a fun experience.
On a football note, I want to take a stint here real quick, Brent, to talk about JT Daniels. You mentioned USC to Georgia to West Virginia, now down to Houston, Texas at Rice University. Talk to me about a dude that is an absolute grind, that loves football, to know where to go, first of all. I mean, unlucky at USC with how coaching staff situations worked out. Caleb Williams wasn't there quite yet, but I mean, a starting freshman at the University of Southern California, right? Let's start there. Kid decides to transfer over to Kirby Smart over at UGA, gets benched for Stetson Bennett, who ends up winning 2 national championships, then transfers to West Virginia, plays lights out in Lane Stadium against Virginia Tech at night, in one of the hardest places to play college football, and then dwindles off the rest of the season. Now he transfers to his first group of 5 school at Rice University as a grad student, chasing education and a final shot at his NFL dream. I think that's more of a story than people are giving into.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot on the line for Rice. As I mentioned, Mike Bloomgren, this is his last season if he can't win. He's 16-39. It's a horrible record. He's leaning on JT Daniels to carry this team to some victories. And
honestly, that's somebody I'd be okay putting my faith in.
Yeah, he was a very, very high recruit coming out of high school. I don't know the exact stars, but I would imagine it's a 4 or 5-star recruit coming out of high school. So this guy had huge expectations going into college, just didn't quite fall on him. He's getting one last shot to do it here in Rice.
I love it. Another story to look out on in the million that is college football, and that's why I love the sport. Shifting over, guys, don't worry, 3 more teams when we're going back to mascots. 2022, the East Carolina Pirates. This is for David Barry, who might be on the pod. 8-5, 4-4 last season. Put up a pretty decent stint here in the AAC. But really, ECU's motto this year needs to be, it's time to take that big step. ECU's been a really, really good football team, good basketball team too, for many years in this conference. But they haven't really drove it home yet, in my personal opinion. And honestly, in the critics' opinion as well. They've never once made the AAC championship game in the entirety of the time they've been in this conference. I found that as a surprise with how many seasons they consistently put up over 500 and consistently have decent teams. They destroyed Coastal Carolina. There you go, Chris, 53-29 in the Birmingham Bowl last season. They're going into their 5th season with Mike Houston, who's teetering around that 500 at 22-24. It's not looking bright at quarterback. They have redshirt junior, Mason Garcia, who's sat at ECU for 3 years now and ready to go in year 4. He went 7 for 12 for 54 yards last season. So a lot of improvement to work on. But again, a lot of quarterbacks do that in college football and wait for their time. Mason Garcia is finally getting his shot. He was a 4-star recruit in 2020. Jalen Johnson is also getting his shot, the redshirt senior transfer who transferred from the University of Georgia in 2022. Had 26 catches, 340 yards, 4 touchdowns. That stat would have been better, but he only played 9 of 13 games with the Pirates last season. He is defined as a natural slot receiver. He loves to play in the slot. He's quick, he's fast, and he's shifty. Let me tell you, look up his highlight reel a little bit. In that bowl game, it was his first game back for about those 4 weeks he was injured. He put up 5 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown, so that's a bright spot going into the offseason. Their key loss is, you might remember him, running back Keaton Mitchell. He had 1,500 yards and 14 punches in the back of the end zone last season for the Pirates. My player to watch on defense is a senior linebacker, Jeremy Lewis. He had 60 tackles, 30 of those solo, and 4.5 sacks last season for ECU. My most important game for them, it's like I said at the beginning, it's time to take a big step. My most important game for them is Week 9 versus Tulane. They're the home team, home field advantage with a chance to crack into the top spot here early in the AAC with 3 weeks to go after that. If you can win that game, you can make a name for yourself in this 14-team conference that has lost debatably the 3 best teams in it, in Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati. But they start Week 1 against Michigan. That's the only issue. But get this, and you might be surprised. ECU going into Michigan is 35.5-point underdogs. I think that is excessive.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Now, me who works in college football and cannot give any sports betting advice, Braden, can you give sports betting advice?
That's too many points.
Good job. Sure, if you think so. Again, game to watch was Tulane. I think this team will basically do the same, if not even maybe a little better. They could get 9 wins, but right now I have ECU a very respectable 8-4. But it's that Tulane game, Week 9. That's really gonna shift the momentum for them going into weeks 10 through 12.
I wonder what the money line is on that game.
I can look it up while Braden's talking about the Memphis Tigers.
Memphis Tigers. Tigers. Yes. Get used to that name. You're going to be hearing a lot of it in the Power 5. The Memphis Tigers went 7-6 last season, 3-5 in the conference, and 1-0 against former CUSO opponent North Texas. They beat Utah State 38-10 in the First Responder Bowl, and they won the AAC West last back in 2019, in which they won the conference championship game against Cincinnati. They're not too far removed from success. Last year was a little bit disappointing for them. Their head coach, Ryan Silverfield, it's his 4th year. He's gone 21-16 over the past 3 years. Their quarterback, Seth Hennigan, lit it up last year as a sophomore. He threw for 3,559 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 8 picks. He also ran for 287 and punched it in 4 times. Blake Watson is a running back. He's my player to watch on offense. He is a redshirt senior that transferred from Old Dominion. He ran for 914 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. He also tacked on 314 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. The player to watch on defense is Jalen Allen. He's a redshirt senior defensive end with 58 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 1 pick, and 1 defensive touchdown. My most important game for me is Week 5 versus Boise State. This game will really set the tone for the season right before their bye week. It would be great to grab a tough win before the beginning of conference play against a tough out-of-conference opponent. I've been going 6-6 yet again.
Wow, that was like your Daily Bugle news report. That was flowing.
Thank you.
Huh. But no, the stat I was looking at there was quarterback Seth Hennigan with the 26 touchdowns. Impressive. Does he improve on that?
I don't know if there's much room to improve with the weapons and talent that he does have, but I think he can stick around that level and continue being consistently that good.
I mean, that's all you need to go undrafted and sign with a team. Brent, talk to me about the Middletown Mustangs.
I was actually about to reference that.
Nice.
Middletown Elementary, baby. We gotta have some elementary school pride.
We should have put the t-shirts on. What are we doing?
We got the SMU Mustangs, boys. This team went 7-6 last year and 5-3 within the conference, which ended up being good for a bowl game. They played BYU in the New Mexico Bowl, where they ultimately lost 23-24. It's been a long time coming since the Mustangs won the conference. You have to go back all the way to 1984 when they were in the Southwest. Since then, though, they have won 2 Conference USA West titles in 2009 and 2010. Their current head coach is Rhett Lashley, who took over for the great Sonny Dykes in 2022 when he left for TCU and ultimately made it to the NCAA championship in his first season with the Horned Frogs. Lashley is entering his second season where he is trying to build off that 7-6 record. At quarterback, it's unlikely to be as good as it was in 2022. Last year, Tanner Mordecai threw for over 3,500 yards and 33 touchdowns, but this offseason transferred to be the quarterback at Wisconsin. Now it is up to understudy Preston Stone to take the load. In limited action last year, he went for 388 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and a pick, and added 63 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns with his legs. Additionally, star wide receiver Rashee Rice, who had 1,355 yards and 10 touchdowns, went to go play with some guy named Pat Mahomes this offseason. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. I heard he's pretty good.
What sport does he play?
But anyway, my player to watch on offense is going to be offensive guard Justin Osborne. The star lineman is 6'5", weighs in at 309 pounds, so he has the measurables. He was all AAC second team last year. On defense, the player to watch is defensive end Nelson Paul, who worked as the team's leading pass rusher, and he had 44 tackles, 5 sacks, and a forced fumble last year. I wanted to put a conference game as their key game until I saw that TCU was on the schedule. So while TCU will probably obliterate SMU, I am very interested to see how a Sonny Dykes revenge game will play out. Despite teams like TCU and Oklahoma on the schedule, the conference teams SMU are playing this year, they're not very competitive. I have SMU at 8-4 this year.
I do always love the version of a revenge game. I'm all for that.
Sonny Dykes, I mean, coming from SMU, after what he did at TCU last year, amazing story. I mean, one of the better coaches in college football right now.
No, wow. I'm definitely a big fan of it, but if there's some great week 4 matchups on, I don't know if I'll watch that after the first quarter.
Yeah. Let to see how competitive it is in the beginning.
We'll have to see. Guys, one more team here. Brent, kick us off.
Braden. Oh yeah. No, never mind. Sorry, I'm all out of sorts here.
You're
Texas.
not used to going back to back.
Yeah, North Texas. Let me pull it up. We got the North Texas Mean Green. As you can see on the screen there, they went 7-7 last year, 6-2 within the conference. That's pretty good for in-conference play, but it was in the CUSA. It's their first year in the AAC. as we're seeing with a lot of these teams. They lost 32-35 in their bowl game against Boise State in the Frisco Bowl. And the last time they won the conference, last time they won the division was the CUSA West in 2017. They lost to Florida Atlantic in the championship that year. Their head coach is Eric Morris. It's his first season as the head coach.
Nice. So as you guys know, there are 14 teams here, 3 of us. 4 times 3 is 12. We got 2 more to go. Brent took double duty on those 2 teams. Braden and I split off here. But for the rest of North Texas here, guys, with the mean green, I'll take our players to watch and our quarterback here. Chandler Rogers is a redshirt junior transfer. He threw for 2,400 yards, 15 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. He transferred, Braden, you're going to love this, from Sun Belt Conference powerhouse, University of Louisiana Monroe, ULM, who was projected to go 1-11, probably because they don't have this guy anymore. Kind of fun here on the 2 players to watch on offense and defense. Same name, spelled 2 different ways. I introduced Roderick to Roderick. Roderick Burns is a redshirt senior wide receiver who had 40 receptions, 676 yards, and a touchdown for the Mean Green last season. Those numbers were actually down from 2021, where he had 58, 802, and 4 touchdowns. Now, this team's returning by far the best O-line in this conference, as well as the 5th best O-line in the nation in sacks allowed last season. They're returning most of their starters, so Rogers should be looking to have protection here. And then nose tackle Roderick Brown, the other Roderick, had 40 tackles, 17 solo with 4 sacks as well. My big game for them, Brent just touched on it, week 10 at SMU. They're coming off a really rough stretch, actually, with Tulane, Memphis, and Tulsa back-to-back-to-back. Those are 3 pretty hard-fought games, especially with most of those being on the road for the University of North Texas. Brent, you can jump in with a prediction here as well, but mine was at 6-6.
No, I'd say that's pretty accurate. I think they're pretty middle of the pack, and they showed that last year, so I would expect the same this year.
Yeah, North Texas had a heck of an offense last year too, Brent. 462 yards and 34 points per game on average. The 6 wins in the CUSA is impressive, but they went 7-7 in overall play. So definitely a team to keep an eye on in that middle of the pack that could be sneaky. But we're through 7 teams here, guys, and as promised, we're halfway home. I don't think anybody is prepped for this one. Don't make fun. I promise I'm really good at making slideshows, unless it's 7 o'clock Central and your podcast is at 8. So I'm not saying I was slacking. I'm just saying I didn't know I was going to do it till I did it. But we have a treat for y'all. The Sports Outlet Show Fight for Your Life. Which mascot would win is the question. So let's kind of go over a little bit of this process. We had a point system here from 100 to 20. We each, myself, Braden, and Brent, ranked 5. So we're going to go 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4, and down the list for you. It'll be myself, then Brent's, then Braden's here for you. Most points you could possibly get if we all put them at number 1 is 300. So I say let's go. Let's get ready to rock and roll. We're going to start with mine at number 5. Again, we did not share these lists beforehand. At number 5 for 20 points is Big Al of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Just the damage he can possibly do with that trunk. Just that's it. He's got the hooves. He's got the trunk. He's got the whole Crimson Tide at his back too. Like, that's pretty scary. I assume they're following.
Absolutely.
At Brent's number 5 for 20 points, we have Sparty.
Sparty the Spartan. It just a classic mascot. You see in the picture there, he's got those big guns. And if you're familiar with this area, Ayler Middle School, the Spartans. That's what they're named after. Michigan State, probably.
My dad would disown me if I didn't say we are Spartans. There you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We are
Sparty.
Spartans. At Braden's number 5 for 20 points per. Oh, geez.
I'm
Braden.
telling you. I don't know how strong he actually is, but he's a scary looking dude. He's got he's got the sledgehammer. You do not want to mess with Purdue Pete right there. He's a scary man.
Those eyes. Oh my gosh.
I know.
At Joe's number 4 for 40 points, I could not agree more. I had Purdue Pete. That you just look into those eyes and all I see is death. I'm just. Could you imagine just like a 10-year-old kid walking up and just being like, I want to see the mascot, and it's Purdue Pete.
That's scary. I'd cry and run the other direction.
We have a T word for that. It's called trauma. At Brent's number 4 for 40 points. Oh,
yes, sir. Stanford tree. All right. When you think about a tree, it doesn't sound that scary, but look at that freaking mascot, man. That thing is terrifying. And you do not want to mess with a tree. I know from personal experience that a tree can do some serious damage. You can ask my car. A tree freaking fell on it, a tree branch, caused a lot of damage, had to go through insurance. It was a whole process. But yeah, number 4, Stanford tree.
So he's taking the insurance claim on this one. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see. And a Stanford Cardinal is probably as tall and thick as those come. So that could be a problem. All right. At Braden's number 4 for 40 points, what do we got? Oh, nice.
They say you're a lover or fighter. Ramses is a lover and a fighter. He's very cuddly. He can be very nice at times, but he's also jacked. And those horns, they can do some damage. Ramses is a tough son of a gun, and he can fight. He can scrap. He knows what he's doing.
I don't want none. Oh, geez. Okay. At my number 3 for 60 points now here, and don't you guys be adding up on us. We have the winners at the end. I got Sparky, the Arizona State Sun Devil. I mean, I do not want that pitchfork hitting me. I don't want that face looking at me. If I see him, I'm running out of the stadium, out of the state of Arizona while I'm at it. I'll head all the way up to Las Vegas and get me the heck out of here.
He looks terrifying. Look at that mustache. Oh my gosh.
Just looks like no. I'm gonna switch the slide. I don't want to look at him anymore. At Brent's number 3 for 60 points, we got Big Al again.
Familiar face. We got Big Al. Like you said with the trunk. I mean, pardon my language, but that thing that can fuck you up, bro. That trunk. I'm sure he can wave that big trunk around and use it as a weapon. Absolutely, he can.
We used to be family friendly, then we all got out of we all left high school, and then Big Al became a guy, and the Sun Devil got in our heads. And all right, we got Braden's number 3 though. Braden for number 3 at 60 points.
It's another familiar face. Party. You're right, Brent. He's absolutely jacked. He is huge, and that chin. He's just massive. That man can fight.
Well, guys, I hate to break up the party here, but my number 2 for 80 points. Should I do the thing where it's like, oh, it's Sparty, guys. Clean sweep here. Goodness. Here at number 2 for the Michigan State Sparty. I mean, you see this guy, right? It's you and him in a ring or in a hallway, and like, just no. I mean, he can headbutt you and kill you. He can put you in a nice chokehold. I mean, it's over. I don't know what to do.
Definitely.
At Brent's number 2. Hold on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Looking at him at first, he looks bushy and gushy. He looks sweet. But all right, think about this. He also looks like the Kool-Aid man. And I bet he could bust through some walls. Trust me, you do not want to see this guy pull up to your house at night He means business. If you saw this at night, you'd be running. That's for sure.
I have two statements. One, why does it have to be at night?
Just
And
think about it. Just think about
could
it.
you
That's
could
in
you
your
imagine?
nightmares, bro.
Could you imagine just like waking up, your door is just open, your bedroom door's open, and you just see Otto just standing?
I've had some nightmares about him for sure.
Oh my gosh. And the second one is, can we get a trademark on a t-shirt for Ushy and Gushy that Brett just said? Can we get working on that? It's just Otto the Orange, Ushy and Gushy. That's fantastic. For Braden's number 2 at 80 points, let's see what we got.
We had Purdue Pete. Now we got Pistol Pete. He is not quite as scary looking in the face. He's still a little bit spooky, but he's got a gun. He's got a gun. Firearm. Pistol Pete is a scary dude. He knows how to use it. He's a cowboy. Look at that hat. He knows how to use that gun, and he can aim. He's gonna get you.
Why does Pistol Pete have a rifle?
It's not even a pistol. It's a rifle.
That's what I was gonna say. A mascot with the gun. That's probably better than a mascot without a gun.
But he's not my number 1.
If I put Pistol Pete and the Orange in a hallway, I think we have a winner.
The Orange.
I can't take this seriously.
Come on.
Oh my gosh. All right, we're at our number 1s for 100 points. Mine might actually surprise you guys a little bit, but I have some analysis behind it. At number 1, I have Captain Kane of the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. First of all, this guy looks like the Crimson Chin from the Fairly Odd Parents. Let's get that started and thrown out of the way. This dude is holding a lightning bolt, I'd assume. He's basically Zeus, and he can literally provide a hurricane on his chest. Look at the swirl. He's got the chin for Crimson. He's got the Zeus lightning bolt, and he can provide a hurricane at any given point. I assume he can fly. He's got a cape. I don't want to fight that guy. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't either. Look at those muscles and that 6. That's like an 8-pack. I mean, come on.
That might be an 8-pack.
Pecs too. The pecs.
I'm just a little terrified there.
Yeah.
Brent, you're number 1 for 100 points. Oh,
We got Ralphie the Buffalo.
we have an animal.
Not your typical mascot. He's a true living buffalo. He weighs in at over 1,200 pounds and runs out on the field during pregame and halftime. I think he'd beat some of these other mascots' asses. I'm not gonna lie. That's a big buffalo. Look at him. Look at him trying to carry him.
This dude literally walked up here and said, "No, I'm using an animal."
It's a mascot.
It is a mascot, but oh gosh, I don't know if I want to play anymore. To be fair, at least my captain does have a cape. We can maybe use that to an advantage here. It's just one of those fighting flaws we might have.
It's not red though.
All right.
Speaking of.
No.
You could not have teed that up better.
Oh, it's over. It's over.
Listen, he's just a big red blob. Look at him. I mean, you might not think he's that strong, but he's a menace. I'm telling you. Like, you do not want to meet up on Big Red, like Brent said, at night. Imagine walking up onto Big Red in an alley. Look, those eyes. That man has seen some things.
Dude, he would be smiling too, which is the worst part.
That man is a scary man. He will take you out.
Look at that
And he's
belly.
red.
Look at that belly.
I know.
I mean, I bet he's got a few people in there.
Exactly.
Let's be real. That's a scary big red. Scary.
I might need to borrow some of that red for my cape. Okay, well that happened. Oh, we have a winner. Now, we technically have a winner, but we'll go to that in a second. Y'all light up the comment section. It's open for 24 hours. We're going to put a Twitter poll up too. That'll be open after the podcast for 24 hours. But every comment that's on here, you get one. We'll count for two votes instead of one. Is it Big Red? Is it Ralphie the Buffalo? Or is it Captain Kane? Maybe it's somebody else. Pick one of those three. Throw one of your own in the comments. But if we're talking about the official winner here, based off the point system, I mean, he was the only one that all three of us had. So that kind of throws it out of the question. It's Sparty the Spartan.
He's good, but not the great. And we all recognize him as being good.
Exactly.
We all recognized him as a playmaker that we wanted.
Absolutely.
That's what happened. We took consistency over power. Maybe those three, maybe Ralphie, Captain Kane, and Big Red have power, but do they got the endurance? Do they got the mental stability? I don't know. That's up for everyone else to decide. We'll throw Sparty on the poll as well since he was the true winner. We'll have a 4-part poll coming out here probably in the next hour. We'll post it, leave it open 24 hours. Whoever wins, I'll buy that team's t-shirt and I'll wear it.
I might have to do the same.
If they're close enough, I'll go to a game next year and take a picture with it. There you go. That's what I got. Anyways, we can pull up the master sheet. I mean, you basically saw everything, so I'm just going to state the top 5. Sparty was 1. Tied for second was Captain Kane, Ralphie, and Big Red. And then in fifth was actually a tie technically, but this person had multiple votes, so Purdue Pete took 5th.
Cool.
So not sure which one of those I'd want to see specifically. If I had to take my money on which I think I could beat, I think I could outrun Big Red. That's about it. But if he caught me, I'm dead.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Oh, no. Because Captain Kane can fly to me. Ralphie would hunt me.
LSU, by the way, has a live tiger. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I saw that.
I figured that would be a little too – yeah, I feel like that would win. So I didn't want to put something too overpowered in there.
All right. I do have one final thing for you guys, and then we're going to finish this final 7. I did not put this in the script for a reason so that you guys could not look it up or see it. So there are 12 of the most used names since we're talking about mascots and nicknames. There's 12 of them. This includes attached adjectives such as blue, golden, flying, or fighting. You guys each have 2 guesses. What is the most common nickname in college football?
I feel like I have a guess, but I feel like it's too obvious and it won't be right.
I might be thinking the same, Braden.
Yeah.
Is it the Owls?
The Owls is not in the top 12.
Wait, this is college football for D2, D3.
The complete U.S. college nicknames.
Oh. Tigers.
The Tigers are the 3rd with 72.
Holy moly. Oh my gosh, 72.
How about Raiders?
The Raiders are not in the top 12.
Okay.
Besides Tigers, I wouldn't even know.
I'll give you 2 through 5 since you already – sorry, yeah, Tigers are 3. I'll give you 2 through 5. At 106 is Hawks. At 72 is Tigers. At 65 is Lions. And at 58 is Bulldogs.
Bulldogs, yeah.
Give me
Falcon. To round out the list, Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I should give you that. At 118, it is Eagles.
Eagles.
That is the most common team nickname in the U.S. colleges.
Interesting.
Thought that was pretty cool factoid. Anyways, we hope you guys love that mascot scenario. Again, we'll throw the poll up in there of those four, the Sparty, the winner, as well as the captain, Big Red, and Ralphie. Guys, that was a lot of fun. I'm not even going to lie. That was so much
great.
Let's jump back in here quickly, guys. We got 7 more teams to go through here in the AAC. We just finished with North Texas, so we might as well just go with the team that won Best Nickname. 2022 Tulane Green Wave here at 12-2, 7-1. When I think about this team for Tulane, I really think about what a great story it was for this AAC franchise team. They won. First of all, let's start about the fact that they won the AAC. They won the conference. They defeated number 22 UCF. Said bye, kick your ass to the Big 12. Excuse me. 45-28 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Absolutely smacked them. Said, get out of here. Tulane said, this is my conference. And then they decided, hey, we're going to be 7 to 10 point underdogs to USC and Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams. All right, bet. USC was down 30-45 with 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. They won that game 46-45. They scored at 4:30. Caleb Williams had a safety, and then they scored again to win the game when they got the ball back. That is an awesome story for Tulane. I absolutely loved it. Head coach Willie Fritz is coming in at his 8th season, his 27th overall as a head coach. Willie Fritz has won 4 conference titles, 2 in the Southland Conference, 1 in the Sun Belt, and 1 in the AAC for an overall record of 197 and 114. That's an impressive resume. I say, and I quote, goodbye Cincy, goodbye Houston, goodbye UCF, uh-oh, AAC. The college football playoff is coming next season, not the season coming up, the season after. It'll be 12 teams. Tulane will make it every single season in this conference. I don't see a team that beats them. I don't see a team that contests with them. As long as they stay healthy, they keep – I know there's one, but they're going to run them off the road.
Road runners?
Yep. I would hop on the Green Wave wagon. If you're talking about possibly going to Tulane as a student, you're going to be seeing some special years of football, and that's something that I never had as a student for a football team, and I wish for everybody that does. Luckily, we had basketball. Tulane is bringing back 47th year starting quarterback Michael Pratt. It's like his 6th season. 3,010 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 5 picks last season. They are losing Tierjay Spears. He was their star running back, who's actually going to be backing up Derrick Henry this season, who had 1,600 yards and 19 touchdowns. So if the king goes down, look at the waiver wire, guys, for you fantasy football players. At running back, they have a 1-2 tandem here for my offensive players to watch. Shadee Clayton Johnson is a redshirt sophomore who had 57 carries, 333 yards, as well as 2 touchdowns as the backup to Spears last season. Their O-line is going to be the best in the AAC by an absolute mile, returns 4 starters. So them in North Texas are going to be fighting for that, but I still think Tulane has that little edge. Shadra Lewis is the other star on that offense. He's a senior transfer running back. He transferred in from Nichols State, in 2022. He had 122 carries, 529 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and he is being called the running back version of Deebo Samuel. So this kid is an absolute star. Hopefully we'll get a decent amount of touches, especially with competition in the backfield. Finally here for defense, Jarius Monroe is the senior corner star who had 50 tackles, 35 solo, 3 picks, as well as 8 pass deflections, which was a high for the Tulane Green Wave last season. So Jarius Monroe, the cornerback senior who was a transfer from Nichols State in 22, they play them in week 4 in Tulane, so that'll be a cool little matchup there for him. to see friends, family, community, and stuff like that at that game. Their biggest game for me, no question about it. There's no discussion. It's week 2 versus Ole Miss at home, thankfully. It's a home game against the SEC. This could be and would be Tulane's only loss of the season if they lose this game. I believe they do. I believe they go 11-1, but if they win that game, mark my words, this team will go 12-0. That's the green wave, baby. That's how they do it.
Next TCU going to the college football playoff championship.
I don't know if their resume would be strong enough to even make a case at 12-0 personally. I mean, they would have to go 12-0, win the AAC. The fact of the matter is Ole Miss and UTSA would maybe be the only 2 ranked wins on that schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You need more than that usually, but that's why I said in quote that if this team sticks together with this recruiting class and this head coach and they quite literally and figuratively ride this wave, you will see them in the college football 12-team playoff every single year because a group of 5 team makes it every single year, and that this will be that team.
Yeah, I could see it for sure.
So if that take was bold, the JMU Chris take was bold, we'll pick one. Pick one and ride the wave. Get it, Tulane. Braden, you get to talk about our boys that serve.
The Navy Midshipmen. Last season they went 4-8, 4-4 in the conference. Did not see any postseason play. They won the AAC West last in 2016, in which they lost the conference championship game against Temple. Their head coach, Brian Newberry, it's his first year. He's been a defensive coordinator for Navy since 2019. They got 3 quarterbacks to look after. Ty Lavatai, he's a senior who had a knee injury late last season. 785 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks, 309 rushing yards, and 5 touchdowns. There's Xander Arline. He's a senior who also is banged up right now. Last year, he threw for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns with 1 pick and 376 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. Another quarterback, Tedros Gletton, would be their best option if these 2 guys are unfit to play. We all know the quarterbacks aren't what matter in this offense. My player to watch on offense is Joshua Penna. He's a senior offensive guard. He's 6'2", 278. He started 20 games over his career for the Navy. He was 11 of 12 games started last year. He's ready to sponsor another rush first, second, and third offense. This team runs the ball a lot. We all know that. My player to watch on defense is Colin Ramos. He's a junior linebacker who had 79 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, 1 interception, and 2 forced fumbles. Weeks 1 through 13 don't matter. We're not looking at those games at all. The only game that matters is Week 14 against Army in Gillette Stadium. We all know this game is so important, so I'm just going to list off a couple facts about the game. Army won last year 20-17 and double overtime. It's the game's first overtime matchup between these 2 teams.
It was so hype.
Navy leads the series all time, 62-54-7. They have 7 ties on the series. Navy won the first Army-Navy matchup 24-0 on November 29th, 18-90. And Army has won 5 of the last 7 after snapping Navy's series-high 14-game win streak. This game is such a fun game. We all love to watch it. It's a staple every single year. Fortunately, we have this game because Navy's not going to be too good. They're going to go 3-9, but it doesn't matter as long as this game is entertaining.
It's literally they could lose all of their other games. If they win that game, it's a successful season. That's all that matters for Navy and Army.
Well, who's winning it then, Braden? I need to know.
Army's been on a bit of a trend lately, but I'm going to give this one to Navy.
Okay, sticking with the midshipmen. Nice. All right, let's transfer over here. Oh, geez. To the UAB Blazers. Brent, let's do it.
Yeah, the UAB Blazers, they had a pretty good year in 2022. They went 7-6 and ended up going 500 within the conference. In their bowl game, they beat Miami, Ohio 24-20 in the Bahamas Bowl. The last time they won the conference was the shortened year in 2020, where their record of 6-3 was good enough to win the Conference USA over Marshall. Their new head coach is Trent Dilfer, who you might know from his time in the NFL from 1994 to 2007 and his brief broadcasting career after that. He'll be looking to build off UAB's 7-6 record in his first coaching job of any type at the collegiate level. After Dylan Hopkins left for New Mexico at quarterback, former Baylor Bear Jacob Zeno is the next guy up. He went for 721 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 picks in limited action last year for UAB. Unfortunately for the offense, though, all 5 offensive linemen need to be replaced. So it's kind of a question mark of what this is going to look like. However, running back Jermaine Brown is ready to take on the load after running for close to 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns as a backup last year. The defensive side of the ball is going to be headlined by a senior edge, Drew Tuazama. In his first season as a starter in 2022, Drew had 33 tackles, 5 sacks, and a forced fumble. And while I'm on the defense, I also just wanted to give a shout out to a name I saw when I was looking through the roster. They have a starting defensive tackle named Fish McWilliams. His first name is Fish.
Nice.
Not really sure what parents look at their newborn son and name him Fish, but I'm here for it. I like it.
They listened to the SpongeBob intro way too many times. And fish.
I know that UAB isn't, sorry, this is my game to watch. I know that USF isn't really that good, but I have that game as the most important for UAB because they go through a midseason stretch where they play Georgia, Tulane, USF, and then UTSA. The only true winnable game out of those 4 is USF, and they're going to need it. They're going to need it to have a successful season. I have them going 7-5.
Hey, that's better than 7-6.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll win their bowl game, make it 8-5.
Brent, it sounds like your child's first name has been picked.
Fish. Maybe,
nice.
Maybe middle name Sticks.
Yes. STIX.
Oh, no. Wait. So legally change your last name to Chips and then middle name and.
Yes.
Oh, that would be a cool name. Maddie?
Well, Brent, you kind of just hinted on your game to watch. Why don't you tell me about the team that they're up against?
Yeah. I almost forgot about USF, South Florida. We probably have the best. We probably have the best of the bunch right here with the South Florida Bulls. They put up a very impressive record. You can see it on your screen there, 1-11, with their only win coming against Howard, which is not an FBS school. You almost have to try to be that bad. They've been in multiple conferences since 2003, but do not have any conference titles to show for it. They do, however, have one division championship where they won the AAC West in 2016. They went 11-2 that year on the backs of some current NFL guys. Marlon Mack, Dearness Johnson, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling were all on that team.
MVS.
Yeah. So some NFL names, familiar guys. But after that piss poor of a year last year, you'd expect that the Bulls would make a change at head coach, and they did. In comes Alex Golish, who gets his first ever stint at a head coaching gig. Even at the high school level, Golish only specialized in the D-line. So I'm curious to see how his prior experience translates to being the top guy at the FBS level. This is a guy that's never head coached a team, at least in what it says on Wikipedia. Even at high school, he was only a positions coach. So I'm interested to see what this guy does as the head coach for an FBS school.
All right. Yeah. I'm going to take on the rest. It's glad that he's defensive minded because this defense was horrendous. My quarterbacks, there's two of them to look at. The starting guy last year, Gary Bohannon, is a redshirt senior. He's a former transfer from Baylor. Last year with the Bulls, he had 1,070 yards, 6 touchdowns to 6 picks. He's currently second on the depth chart behind Byron Brown, a redshirt freshman who last year threw for 404 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 1 pick in 4 games. So not too high of a sample size, but he looked good in the games that he did play. Certainly wouldn't hurt to throw him in there and try him out. My player to watch on offense is Naquan Wright. He's a redshirt senior running back transfer from Florida. He had limited work with 753 career yards in 4 years with 5 touchdowns. He's behind a decent O-line and number 1 on the depth chart at running back. As I said earlier, this team had a really, really poor defense that only came up with 10 total sacks on the year. And 5 of them belonged to Jason Vaughn, senior defensive end, who's my player to watch. He had 35 tackles, 8.5 tackles for loss, and those 5 sacks with 2 pass deflections. So he looked pretty solid. He's one of the few bright spots. My game to watch is Week 13 versus Charlotte. It's a must-win game for any chance of improvement. This team is in a full rebuilding state and does not have the tools to win games this year. Their only win that I have them winning, I have them going 1-11 yet again, is against Florida A&M. They can enjoy that one win and then go play Alabama the next week.
Oh my! That is gonna be. I did not see that on the schedule. That is gonna be like 96-4.
Yeah, I was trying to find the line for it. They don't have them up.
Oh my gosh.
That's awful. I need to tune in just to like the first 10 minutes to see how bad it is. Because this is gonna be one of the worst teams in college football right here, USF.
I love the way that Braden went into that. He went, it's going to be against Florida A&M because they're going to go into week 2 against Alabama. Oh Lord.
It's rough. It's going to be rough.
Say your prayers before you go to bed for that one. Geez. But yeah. Okay. Hey, thanks for not picking them to beat Charlotte because I picked Charlotte to go 2-10, and that week 13 game was a W in my column. So we're good there. We're on the same page. That'll be Braden and I's game that we're just locked in week 13. Nothing else matters. All right. I have something super important to talk about here with my last team. It's Tulsa. But if you say Golden Hurricanes, you will get very dirty looks. It is Tulsa. It is singular. It is Golden Hurricane. It's not the Stanford Cardinals. It's the Stanford Cardinal.
See if I can just cut in here 1 second. When I was looking at my mascots, I had the Miami Hurricanes and the Golden Hurricane up there at once. And I was trying to debate which is better, multiple hurricanes or one Golden Hurricane. I couldn't figure it out.
Golden Hurricane. That's pretty sick.
It's one. If you see a Golden Hurricane, that's pretty cool. And then you're probably just so there's probably like a nice sunset in there, you know?
Yeah.
Good way to go. Here Tulsa for my last team. They went 5-7 last year, 3-5 in the conference. They did not make a bowl game. Their only appearance in the championship game here in the AAC was in 2020, where they lost 24-27 to the newly Big 12 added Cincinnati Bearcats. They're coming in. They fired their head coach. They're coming in with Kevin Wilson, who's coming into his first season. Tulsa's gone everywhere, forward, back, and everywhere, guys. In the past 9 seasons, they have had every single win besides from 2-10, besides 8 or 9, because they doubled up on 2-win seasons and 6-win seasons. So they've gone 2-2, 3-4, 5, 6-6, 7, 10. Not in that order, but you know what I mean. So it's been a struggle. It's been a little bit of a struggle. They currently have a 3-way quarterback battle going on. Oh, geez, for Tulsa. Right now, redshirt sophomore Braylon Braxton looks like the guy that's going to win it. But head coach Kevin Wilson, and rightfully so, in his first year, is saying this quarterback battle is open until week 1. Braylon Braxton is a redshirt sophomore, threw for 1,133 yards and 10 touchdowns, as well as 2 picks in 9 of 12 games last season for the Golden Hurricane. They also had 3-star commit in the 2022 class, Cardell Williams. He's an incoming freshman, as well as they have returning redshirt junior Roman Fuller, who, guys, threw 100% last season for the Golden Hurricane, 1 for 1 for 7 yards. There is not a lot to look forward to this team. They lost their 2 biggest wide receiver weapons as well. That wide receiver room is absolutely bare. Back on that point real quick to Braylon Braxton, the redshirt sophomore quarterback. He actually entered the transfer portal to try to leave and ended up not leaving. So he is back in Tulsa this season. Malachi Jones is going to have to step up as the redshirt junior wide receiver. He had 37 catches, 470 yards, and 2 touchdowns last season for the Golden Hurricane. The lone highlight of this team, really, I mean, it's half decent all around. There's work to be done with every college football program as well. But it's really graduate safety Kendarin Ray. He had 86 tackles, 55 of those were solo, as well as 3 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, a pick, and 5 pass deflections in 2022. My biggest game for them is really just going to be a tone setter. Week 5 versus Temple. It's their first game in the AAC at home, first game in the AAC in general as well. Can they start the conference off with a win here? Can we get Kevin Wilson to 1-0? In week 2, they play the Oklahoma Sooners. In week 5, they're playing up against Temple. Those are definitely 2 big games to watch. I'm not going to say anything about the week 2 for a lot of reasons. But for the week 5 game against Temple, it's definitely one that Tulsa needs to win, especially starting out this season. For 2023, and it's week 3 against Oklahoma. My 2023 prediction for them is going to be 5-7, exactly where they picked up. Honestly, not exactly what you want out of a first-year head coach, but I think admirable at best for them to go into next offseason, hit the transfer portal, and get to work. But with that being said, my game to watch is Braden's last team to talk about.
We're going to talk about the Temple Owls, my final Owl team of the podcast. Last year they went 3-9, 1-7, very disappointing. Did not qualify for postseason play. They won the AAC East back in 2016 under head coach Matt Rule. They beat the Navy 34-10 in the conference championship game that year. Their head coach, Stan Drayton, is in his second year. He didn't get too much done in his first year. That's not too much of a concern, too much of a problem yet. He was a running back coach of Texas from 2017 to 2021. And he was also a coach for the Chicago Bears for a short stint. Their quarterback is just the son of some undrafted quarterback that also went on to win a Super Bowl MVP, NFL MVP, and is in the Hall of Fame. Kurt Warner's son, E.J. Warner, is a sophomore. Last year he threw for 328 yards with 16 touchdowns and 12 picks. So a pretty solid season. Just need to cut down on those interceptions and you'll be good to go. My player to watch on offense is Dante Wright. He's a redshirt junior wide receiver. He transferred from Colorado State. He didn't play in 2022, but back in 2021, he had 554 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's super lightning quick. That'll be a fun target for Warner to throw to. My player to watch on defense is Leighton Jordan. He's a junior linebacker. He had 53 tackles, 18.5 tackles for loss, and 9 sacks. And get this, he had 2 interceptions for 2 touchdowns. He had 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 4-1 touchdown. So every time Leighton Jordan had the ball in his hands, which was 3 times, he found pay dirt. He scored all 3 times, which is very fun. It's very exciting. My game to watch is Week 13 versus Memphis. This is the game that can determine that the team that went 3-9 last year could go bowling. It's a much easier schedule with some out-of-conference competition in Rutgers and Miami to show them where they stand. A step-up should be expected, and I do expect it, going 6-6, going bowling.
Going bowling. Probably my absolute favorite term in all of sports is going bowling. It's a great one.
It's up there with going dancing.
Going bowling.
Going dancing's pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Going dancing's pretty good too. How many teams that go to bowl games you think actually like go to a bowling alley?
It might be a fun tradition. That'd be
I would
pretty cool.
I would say at least 33%.
Nice.
Well, if you told like South Florida they were going bowling, they might actually think they were going to the bowling alley.
Nice. All right, Brent, take the privilege here of talking about our last Group of 5 team of the year.
Yeah. Last but certainly not least,
Second.
I call him Utsa. It's the UTSA Roadrunners. In 2022, UTSA went for an impressive record of 11-3 and went undefeated within the CUSA conference for a championship. Now joining the AAC, UTSA wants to prove that it can sustain its success in a different conference. In their bowl game against Troy last year, they barely came up short, losing 12-18. Their head coach is Jeff Traylor, who has gone 30-10 in 3 seasons with the team. That's very, very impressive for UTSA. At quarterback, it might even be more impressive. It does not get much better than Frank Harris. The veteran quarterback has gone for 9,356 passing yards, 74 passing touchdowns, and over 1,800 rushing yards and 24 rushing touchdowns, entering his 4th year as the starter. So all of those stats were in 3 seasons. This guy can freaking ball and has been the key to the Roadrunners' success of late.
Do I mention Austin Reed numbers in there?
He is ridiculous. This guy carries. He's amazing. But the other guy to watch on offense was going to be star wide receiver Joshua Cephas, but he just got booked for a DUI. His BAC was over 0.15. So I'm not sure if this guy will play. He just got booked yesterday. It was either yesterday or the day before, so not much is out in terms of if he's going to play, if he's not going to play. Not really sure. But his 985 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns in 2022 will certainly be missed if he can't play this season. The guy to watch on defense is Rashad Wisdom, who is entering his 5th season as a starter. He missed half the season last year due to injury, but has compiled 253 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 4 interceptions throughout his time with the Roadrunners. It's no secret that the top 2 teams in this conference are UTSA and Tulane, with UTSA looking to disrupt Tulane's grasp on the conference. This shapes up to be one hell of a matchup in the last week of the season.
They knew what they were doing.
It's going to be a real good one. I have UTSA going 10-2 this season, whether Josh Cephas is ready or not. Frank Harris can carry this team, and he will on his back. And I want to leave you guys with this. UTSA was an FCS school in 2011 and has since made 5 bowl games, including 3 in a row from 2020 to 2022. This team has had quite the turnaround.
Looking for 4.
Yeah. And they will. They will make another.
I would be shocked if they didn't.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I think in the pre-college rankings, I'm pretty sure this team is ranked 24th in the nation.
I mean, watching UTSA last year, it was in the CUSA, it was UTSA and it was Western Kentucky. Like last year, the year before, maybe even the year before that, Brent, since you were talking about bowling. It feels like same story, different day here in the AAC, but now it's UTSA and it's the Tulane Green Wave, and it looks like that could be the story for a while. Again, there's competition surrounding this conference. Some would say it's gotten weaker, losing Cincy, Houston, and UCF. I can see where they're coming from. But the CUSA isn't a kickover conference anymore. They might be now that they lost CUSA. UTSA. But I mean, bringing in Charlotte isn't a great aspect so far. But I mean, FAU, North Texas, UAB, UTSA are all possibilities to go bowling. Probably more than possibilities. According to Braden, or maybe it was you, Brent, Rice could go bowling as well.
Yeah, I had them at 6-6.
At 6-6. So let's throw this up here for what, based on our predictions. We do this every week. If it's your first time coming in here, I'm going to shoot this on my screen for if the season happened the way we predicted. This is how it would hash out here in the AAC. Again, no divisions here. So a little bit of a difference here in the AAC. On top, your championship game right there, 1 and 2. Tulane Green Wave, UTSA Roadrunners a win apart, 11-1, 10-2. Could look at those possibly even being higher records if they're successful. Again, they play each other week 12. Going to be a big game. SMU, ECU, FAU all standing at 8-4 there. UAB sitting lonesome, looking wonderful there with lucky number 7-5. And then again, you got 4 teams there at 6-6: Memphis, Rice, Temple, North Texas, Tulsa barely missing out there at 5-7. Navy, Charlotte, USF taking 3, 2, and 1. So I mean, we're looking at 10 of 14 teams making a bowl game. Again, possible, probably not. But at the same point, this is a conference where teams are gonna. Again, they're playing each other every week without divisions, and that puts a huge impact on who you're playing. As in, is that if the top half's better than the bottom half, and the half and halves play 1-1 ball, this is very possible.
Yeah,
and it was kind of similar to what we were seeing with a few different games hashed out here with the CUSA and AAC. And besides Tulane and UTSA, there's not a front runner or a powerhouse that you're going, oh, SMU is the 3rd best team in this conference. No, you're not saying that. So definitely something to look for.
At minimum, I think 6 or 7 teams make bowl games from this conference.
And I mean,
there's a lot of pretty good teams. There's a lot of pretty good.
If you win 6 games, there's a reason there's so many bowl games that people don't even know.
Yeah.
And you said the top 2 teams, there's the 3 bottom teams. And other than that, every other team is just middle of the pack. They can compete. They can be good or they can be bad. There's not like a sure thing in there, like you were saying.
Yeah. All right, guys. I know we're a little over time, but we took a lot of time to do mascots, so I'm not apologizing for that one because that was fantastic. 3 things for housekeeping real quick, and then we'll get you guys on your way here. Number 1, that Twitter poll for the top fighting mascot will be live at 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Comments both live or after the podcast that are in here are going to count for 2 votes, only 1 vote per person. Keep that fair. Guys, we can throw in comments too, all right? We'll put our votes to the test. Again, if you forgot, Big Red, Captain, I'm forgetting Sparty, and Ralphie are those 4. So put your votes in there. I'm sticking with my guns. I'm sticking with mine for my 2 points. Number 2 on a housekeeping list, and guys, this is the most depressing thing I've ever put up here. Bye week next week. We will not be having our podcast next week. It is our bye week. As you go halfway through the season, you get a bye week. We are basically halfway through these conferences. We've done 5 of 11, I believe so. Remaining, we still have technically we've done 4 of the 9, but we've done 5 of the 11 weeks. We have the Pac-12, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, SEC. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Power 5.
Power 5, baby. Gets real.
And 2 surprises before I kick you guys off. Number 1 is this. Every single podcast moving forward, there will be 4 people on this screen. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guest stars lined up for you, ready to rock and roll here in the next couple of weeks. Now, I know what you're saying. Bye week next week, all right? I got something to make up for it. When we talk about the Pac-12 next week, with our guest star, which will be named later on. We haven't done this in a while. There will be a $25 Amazon gift card up for grabs in the Pac-12 podcast the week of July 24th. The Sports Outlet Show did this a long time ago. Where actually, I believe a former Hokie actually won it based off that random number generator. So how to enter? Oh, I guess you got to watch the podcast on July 24th that week. Yikes. That's unfortunate, Brent. Anyways, we appreciate having all y'all on here. Again, that Twitter poll is going live at 9 a.m. You guys got anything you want to say before we head into the bye and into Power 5?
Yeah, just thank you for sticking with us. If you made it this long, it was a longer podcast, but we definitely had a lot of fun with those team names and mascots. One of the more entertaining podcasts we've had in a while, for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Thank y'all for sticking around. It was a lot of fun. It
was a huge way to get rid of the group of 5. We appreciate your guys' support as always. My name's Joe Wagner, alongside my two brothers in Christ, Braden Wilkins and Brent Allegra. This is S.O.S. number 4.7, the AAC Preview. Enjoy your bye week, your vacations, kick up your feet. Watch Quarterback on Netflix. It'll get you ready for some football. It's phenomenal so far. Highly recommend it. That's all we got here on this beautiful Thursday night. And Brent and I know that it is Thursday today. So you guys have no idea.
It's been a long week.
It really has. Peace out from the Sports Outlet Show. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks here for Pac-12. Guest star, Amazon gift card. Go vote on Twitter, or else one of Big Red's going to be outside your window.